Hey everybody, Mags here. We are going to review some of the hints and tips that we've been given this year on the Dynasty Hot Seat. If you are new here, do me a favor, can you like, comment, share on this video for me, please, like you can see here. And then also, if you're new here, why not hit that subscribe button too? It really helps out. Right, on to the hints and tips.
Well, I think the first thing would be kind of figure out what you're in to play Dynasty for. A lot of my content specifically is catered towards people that are in it for. Obviously, we love football. We love the game of Dynasty. Like we didn't even get here for until that was already a given. But
Yeah.
then figure out what is your goal. If you're somebody that just wants to play in a couple leagues, root for your favorite players, go for it. Like your agenda is going to be a little bit different than mine. I play in almost 60 leagues at this point. I look at it like a stock portfolio. That's what I enjoy. Now, someone will push back and say, well, is the best time you spend on Dynasty, is that the best thing in terms of your return on investment? If you actually factor in the amount of time that we spend doing it, probably not. But there's a level of enjoyment that we get by doing it. But I think you have to be honest with yourself. Are you in this to kind of treat it like that, treat it like a little bit of a business? I've created a business out of Dynasty and I have my LLC. Like I've taken it to that level, but that was my goal. That's not what I got into playing Dynasty for, but evolved into that. And that's what it's become for me now. So my approach is going to be a little bit different than somebody that says I'm a casual player, I'm in a couple leagues. A lot of my trades, a lot of my moves, a lot of my draft picks are going to be catered towards just having fun, wanting to root for my players, wanting to pick my guys. If that's your stance, then you're not going to be looking at it from the same view that I am. So I think that's the first thing, is figure out what you're here for. Now, if you're just starting out, what you're here for in year one may be different than what you're here for in year 5. So I think that's the first thing. What are you getting into it for? That's going to cater how you play. That's going to cater to a lot of the decisions that you make. So that'd be the very first thing that I would say.
Nice. Yeah, I think that's a great bit of advice. And, that's something that comes up a lot on the show, just about, having that sort of self-reflection a little bit and kind of look at yourself through a different kind of lens each time and say like, what? Yeah, I've never heard that one before in particular. Like, why am I actually playing this? Like, do I want to, make money with all these buy-ins I'm going into, or am I just here to have fun? And I think there's no wrong answer there as well, which is the best part of the game.
Yeah, and a couple other things that I'll say is once you've kind of figured that out, then you figure out, what type of leagues do I want to play in? How much do I want to put up? And then how meticulous do I want to be with a lot of my decisions? Like if you decide, hey, I like Dynasty, but I want to also try to make money at Dynasty. Well, then you have to think about, okay, how much do I need to put in? What type of buy-ins do I want to play in? What type of sites do I want to play in? Because obviously there's this, you're always weighing the fact of, okay, I'm putting in X amount of money, but maybe the site that I'm playing on takes a 30% rake. What I can make on that site might be a little bit lower, but you know what? Their leagues aren't going to fold. The commissioners are trustworthy. There's always that balance of, where do you want to put your money? How do you want to allocate it? But then you're looking at, okay, if I'm going to start looking at things from like a portfolio perspective, another thing that I always encourage people is they come to me and they'll say, I want to play like a portfolio like you do, but I only have 2 or 3 leagues. What do I do? Well, obviously you have to kind of slowly build and expand because that helps empower a lot of the decisions that you're making. If you're stepping back and saying, you know what, I'm going to be pretty agnostic to players. I'm going to play more with like a process-based, a value-based approach. It's really hard to do that when you're in 2 leagues because those decisions might be optimal on a large scale. But I almost look at it like, hey, I know you come to me and you say, I got a really good investment for you, Scott. I got a great investment. This is guaranteed to make money. It's a 70% chance it's going to make money. And I go, well, how much do you need? How much do I need to put up? And you're like, all I need is, $10,000. And I'm going, well, that means I'm not paying my car payment, my mortgage. You know what I mean? I can't afford that. Now you're telling me, dude, it's a 70% chance to make money. And I'm saying, okay, I like 70% chances. A lot of times that's going to be in my favor. So that's a bet that I want to make. But I also have to realize I don't know if I can take the money that's going towards paying my mortgage to make that bet. It's the same thing in Dynasty. If you're in 2 leagues, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face that this is a optimal move. but you only have 2 leagues. If it goes wrong, guess what? If it hits the 30%, you're coming back to me going, that's terrible advice. You led me wrong. I lost my life savings. That's your fault. And I'm going, I
Yeah.
led you in the right direction with the right type of move, but you just didn't have a big enough scale to make it work for you. If you had $100,000 and you could make $10,000 bets, and you have a 70% chance to win every one of them, you're going to make a profit most likely because you're expanding it across a larger number of bets. So I think that's the other thing is if you want to play this approach, you do have to kind of doesn't mean you need to put up a lot of money, but you should try it with a larger number of decisions that allows you to spread the risk across a larger number of bets. That's where you're going to end up winning more often than you're losing if you're taking good bets. So I think that'd be my second piece of advice. If you want to play on a large scale, you got to get in more leagues. You got to start making decisions multiple times because there is a level of variance that when you're playing fantasy football, you can't account for, and you're going to be wrong. Even the best people are probably wrong 30-40% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like football in particular is such a game of chance as well. Like, for example, maybe a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, you're out and you're thinking, right, I'm looking at this guy, 26-year-old stud wide receiver, looks like he's going to really break through. The main guy's just gone. He's going to break through. Fortunately, that guy's called Calvin Ridley, right? And then he gets suspended for a year and who knows what's happening. Like those kind of moves that seem like that 70%, like that's a great example, right? Calvin Ridley with 70% chance that guy was going to hit and be the man. And then something unforeseen comes along. So you don't want to put all your eggs in that one basket because it can go disastrously wrong, especially in fantasy football.
Absolutely. That's a great example of one where his value increased and then it literally has dropped now to a point where you're making a whole different type of bet if you're betting on him coming back. It's a very interesting value study to look at Calvin Ridley from when he came in. I don't know if you remember when Calvin Ridley came in, but he's a prospect profile that we would probably not like too much now compared to maybe where people liked him back then. But then he goes ahead and gets drafted in the first round, which just conflicts with a lot of the information that we would have thought at the time. So that's a good, interesting one to bring up. I'll add 2 more. These are a little bit smaller, but they are, I think, pertinent. I think the first thing is kind of what you touched on is appreciate how much we don't know with the information that is out there. This is a fascinating thing to me because we live in a world of information that is constant. If you just have a Twitter following or a couple apps on your phone, you can literally not miss 95% of what's going on in the NFL within a half hour of it happening. So there is no excuse for saying, I didn't know about that or I didn't hear that. If you're plugged in, if you have your phone on you, if you're tapped into different apps and websites, you're not really missing anything. So there is no edge with, hey, I'm in a league with you and I know something that you don't. I may have found something and you haven't looked there yet, but it isn't like it's a secret that you can't discover, that I know and you don't know. Whereas 10 years ago, it was like, man, if you knew a certain source or you had some sort of information, it just wasn't out there. That would be an edge. Now it's not an edge. But I think we also have to acknowledge there is a large number of things that go into fantasy results that we never will know. As simple of this might seem like a really mundane example, but like we have so many people out there during the season that are doing like weekly projections and matchup analysis, right? Like there's no excuse for not really knowing that stuff going into a week. There's only a certain level of how accurate it can be before you're like, okay, this is too much. Let me just make a decision, right? Here's what we don't know. How do you know that the 2 players you're deciding to start on a Sunday, one of them woke up feeling amazing? His life is in the greatest place in the world. You know, he just got married. Everything's perfect. He's about to go out there and, I mean, he's feeling great. You ever had one of those days where you just feel great? You're really productive. You're happy to be around, everything. The other guy you're deciding, his life's in shambles. He's depressed. Stuff's going on off the field. We'll never know either of the 2 extremes on that situation. Yet we're looking at him like, do I sit player A or player B? So there's those little things. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes unless we get it reported in the media or unless we hear from somebody. there's so much about like these are human beings playing a sport, and we can't measure so much that goes into, hey, should I trade this player for that that player? If we knew the full scope of it, we might see things a little bit differently, but there's probably a large majority of stuff that impacts fantasy performance that we'll just never know.
Yeah, I think that's completely true. Like there is just a plethora. I don't know if you're the same as me, Scott, but every time I get an offer for someone, if someone's trying to like ship someone away or someone tries to buy someone from me that I'm not quite expecting, the first thing you do is you get on Google, you're like, what's happening to this guy? Like, what is going on here? What do you know that I don't know? And you try and fish that out and find out what's going on. But yeah, there's just some stuff that you won't know. Like there isn't a sleeper notification for bad night's sleep or anything like that, right? You just have to go with your gut sometimes on those kind of things, right?
Yeah, and my second point kind of leads right into that is don't be scared to be the aggressor if you think that there's intrinsic value in a move for you to make.
Mm,
So I'll give you an example. I look through one of the big things I'm doing right now is going through a lot of my rosters and saying, where do I have players that are just clogging up roster spots? A lot of times that
yeah.
is receivers that are buried down on depth charts, and I'm holding them because honestly, I can't even tell you why.
Like James
Like,
Washington, right?
yeah, James Washington. I had a couple, so like Anthony Schwartz is a guy I really liked
Yeah.
coming out of college, right? Super young, super fast, was a third round pick. He's now looking at a second season, probably with a bad quarterback situation.
Hmm.
Why do I have him on a roster? At best case scenario, next year, this time, he's available for the same cost he would be available for right now, except he's a
Yeah.
year older. His second year, he won't really do anything. So
Hmm.
why do I have him on a team? So I'm almost looking at like a player like that, the intrinsic value of me being able to literally sell him for fab dollars. The value is me being able to get him off my team.
Yeah.
The extra value is, hey, someone might actually give me something for him. But man, if someone gives me fab dollars, I now freed up a roster spot where I can use that on something that gives me more equity and more flexibility. And I got some fab dollars. But the real key there is the value I'm getting is not what I get back in the trade. It's literally I got
Mm.
him off the team.
Yeah.
So seeing moves like that where there is an intrinsic benefit to you making the move and it has nothing to do with what you're actually getting back in the move, I think that's the type of thinking you should look at. And you have to be the aggressor. No one is going to come and buy my Anthony Schwartz until I send them an offer for 50 fab dollars. Then they'll say, okay, maybe I'll accept it. But the value isn't getting them off my team. So be the aggressor more often than just sitting back and waiting.
Yeah, I like that. It's something certainly I always do. Like I'll wake up some mornings just be like, right, today's the day I'm gonna try and trade for X player or try and get this player off my team. And I'll send everybody in the league an offer. And I'll put that in the chat, be like, I've sent everyone an offer. Like first one to press accept gets them. And sometimes that starts the ball rolling, right? And just being that aggressor and taking the initiative to get the ball rolling.
I love that. I love so myself and one of my co-hosts, we do the auto accept trade blocks, which is basically, I'll just put it in the chat and I'll put a list of players with the cost. And a
Yeah.
lot of times they're costs that I know somebody will pay to
Yep.
the point where it'll be, you're the first one that sends it gets it. I'm not going to look at, is it a 2023 or 2024 pick? Are you a good team, a bad team, a middle of the pack team?
Yep.
First person that sends me a third gets it. And
Nice.
that's worked a lot to where when you see, it's like when you walk into a store and you see that there's only one of this item and it's a price you like, you're incentivized to go, man, if I better do it now or I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
And you can, same in Dynasty, instead of waiting, you kind of just say, this guy's being traded by the end of the day. I want a third round pick. And you're probably a
Yep.
better shot of getting that type of offer done when you're just flat out, you say what you want to do and somebody may take it.
Yeah, exactly. And a couple of things we said in the show a few times is you never want to be that guy in the comment section 2 days later, like, oh, I would have given you more than that. It's like, well, you didn't. So here we go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I love those hints and tips, Scott. Thank you so much for watching today's video. Remember, like this video, leave a comment if you want, and subscribe to the channel. These videos are going to be coming thick and fast, so you don't want to miss anything. So that's it for today. In the meantime, keep yourselves, keep your teams lit. We'll see you next time.